Hey guys, welcome back to the game room. I'm Sean, and today we're going to talk a little bit. We unboxed our Dead Man's Hand. You've gone through your box. You've probably looked at the rulebook a little bit, had an idea of what you might want to build for your lawmen or your Outlaws or Desperados or whoever you're going to build, and you looked at the sprues for the models. And you might be a little daunted as to, wow, what goes where? How do I put these together? All right, let me show you how we're going to turn this into this. Okay. These are models that are coming off of, all the parts came off these sprues. So, the neat thing about these sprues is there's a lot of different options, but it could also be a little daunting as to which arms go with what looks good, which head should I use, the legs are separate from the torso, separate from the arm, separate from the head, lining the guns up, making sure you have the right hands on the right gun, for example. How do I tilt the heads and that kind of stuff. A lot of it, guys, it just comes with some practice. Take a little bit of time, position the parts before you glue them together, make sure they look like they're going to work, and don't get frustrated if you have to pull a part off and start over. I did that a lot with some of these models because it's just like, the arm just doesn't look right, so you take it off. Which head do I use, what's a good positioning for it. So to start with, I recommend the rulebook. Rulebook's got a lot of pictures of these models that you can build, and some gives you some potential ideas. Like this one, I just kind of took right out of the rulebook. It's like, oh, I like that pose. Let's go build that one real quick. Okay, great. It was relatively straightforward. And then look around, you see some others and say, oh yeah, I want something similar to that. Or, let me look and see what my arm options are. What are my head options? What do I think looks good? And this one looks kind of cool. I mean, she's kind of moving to her right, looking to her left, getting ready to take a stance, pulling the shotgun up, head kind of cocked back. Maybe she's looking up at a roof, getting ready to take aim and shoot. There's different things that you can do. You can imagine what the models are doing as you build them. You can make them very characterful. It just adds a lot of character to the models, but always keep in mind of what their pose is. So let's build a model. You can use super glue, which I used for most of these models, but luckily right before I started filming this video, my latest my plastic weld showed up. I did have to order one. My other one was really old and was bad. So brand new bottle of plastic weld. I like the plastic weld better. It melts the pieces, so when you put them together, they kind of become they're more one piece because it melts them together. So that's the way I like it. Anyway, so I went through the ladies' sprue and found some parts that I liked. I wanted to make I'm working on I have on the left here is my outlaw gang, and on the right is my lawmen. And while I have 21 points, I wanted to make one more model just to show you how this works, and just so I have another option with my outlaw gang. So I picked a head for an outlaw. This one, she's got a mask on. Kind of liked this head. You don't really see much of her face, which was the whole idea, and I just liked it. Found a torso that I liked that fit what I was trying to do. I wanted one where she's standing there ready to draw, so her hands are at her side. Okay, I'll be honest, while doing the unboxing and filming these, I have been watching Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. So, I'm thinking draws, right? So that their hands ready, they're down by their sides, ready to draw. So I kind of wanted one like that, and they just happen to have a her hands on the gun in the holster. So it's going to it's going to sit back kind of like that. And so I was like, all right, well, cool. So with the legs that I picked here, it's going to kind of sit like right there, and it gives me the you know, the idea is I kind of dry fit of here's what it's going to look like. I wasn't 100% sure of which left arm was going to look good, so I found the ones that matched the sleeve. Now, if you look at your sprue, you've got different sleeve types, so you do want to make sure that your sleeves match right and left. So you've got like this one that's kind of flowery with a sleeve coming out underneath it. It's kind of puffy, the sleeve. And this one's just more of a straight sleeve with no real cuff. Okay, you've got where they're rolled up, and you've got lots of different options. You know, here's the other arm where it's rolled up. You get different options depending on which sleeve type you want to use. You know, these look very similar. This particular sleeve here has a cuff. This one does not. Now, it could be that, well, you know, her hands, I mean, maybe the sleeve just fell down. Yeah, but there's others that actually have that cuff, you know, that would work. So make sure your sleeves kind of match. From what I have seen in the building, the ones that I did, any sleeve really kind of fits with any torso. So that doesn't really seem to be too big a deal. You know, here's a torso that's got the puffy sleeves on it. And you know, here's a very similar torso that has, you know, the more straight sleeves on it. They tend to work really well together, so it doesn't really matter too terribly much. Just try to find sleeves that match. So it look kind of silly if you have one straight long sleeve and one puffy sleeve. Unless that's the look you're going for. You know, hey, you know, it's your models. You do you. That's the important thing here is you do you, whatever makes you happy. All right. I've been talking too long here, so enough about character building. Let's put this lady together. All right, so I kind of have an idea of how I want her facing. I don't want her to almost looking straight ahead like she's been stopped and is ready to draw. So I'm going to set up her torso kind of like that. Now the plastic weld gives you a little bit of time to play with. So you do need to put the models together relatively quickly. Otherwise, once they're together, they're going to be very, very difficult to get apart. I'm going to put my plastic weld on both. Give it a second to kind of melt the two parts. You can see it kind of doing that. Maybe now we're going to push the two pieces together. And we have a little bit of time, and I want her kind of facing like that. Alright, now this is the arm that needs to be positioned properly because this gun needs to be at holster height. So let's get that on. Put that there. Put this arm here. And since I need this to stick, put a little bit there. Alright, now quickly I'm going to put this on to her, position the shoulder joint so that it looks right and actually gets the gun in the right spot, like so. Leave everything squished together, make sure everything is good. Alright, there we go. Now it looks like she is ready to pull the gun. We can go ahead and put our mask or her head on. Now, depending on what you're trying to do, sometimes you may want to have their head turned sideways because I wanted him to look down the barrel of the gun. I wanted her to look in the direction of where she's shooting. So not looking straight ahead, but since she's positioned more straight ahead, like so, I want her head facing this direction. So it'll go on kind of like that. Alright, now you can see where the neck goes into the body there. So I'm going to put a weld there. And here, we'll let that sit for a second while it melts that plastic. And then Now, you want to get it on there? Now look, she's looking the wrong way. But the plastic weld gives you a little time to reposition that head or that part. Then we're just going to hold it in place for a second. There you go. Now it looks like she's looking right at us. Body kind of to one side, looking straight ahead at us, hand on the gun. Now, what is her left arm doing at this point? Does it look like it should be kind of flailed out a little bit? Like maybe she's twisting back, and so therefore that left arm would go out a little bit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, twist back like you're trying to draw and see where your left hand goes. So maybe it goes out a little bit like so. Or is it closer to her? Since I really feel more like she's moving rather than standing still, I really think this arm should probably be flailing just a little bit, like she's whipping back to draw. And I think it's going to be one of these two arms. These two are very similar. And I think I got one that has a cuff on it and one that doesn't. So that'll solve my problem right there of this has a cuff. We're going to get that one out of the way. We're going to use this one. So, glue there. Glue there. If you get this glue on other parts of your model, it will melt it. So be very careful with it. And then I'm going to position it up here on her shoulder. Make sure it looks good. And you know what? That actually came out better than I thought. I actually like that, because now it does look like she's pulling back to draw, and that left hand kind of went out in front of her a little bit. So there you go. So make sure you clean up your parts before you glue them together. I did kind of forget to clean up the base, so you do want to make sure they sit flat. So be very careful when you're using your hobby knife. Not responsible for any cuts, damage, injuries, blah blah blah. Get a parent supervision if you're a child, but make sure you clean them up before you glue them together. But there you go. It's really not hard once you kind of have an idea of what. So watch some old westerns, see how people, you know, how they pose, what they look like when they you know, get ready to draw, or when they're shooting, or, you know, pause the video and say, oh, how is he? I like that. You know, how is he? I'm looking up at my TV because I had Good, Bad, and the Ugly on. But you can look up at, you know, look at it, pause the video, and say, okay, I like the way he's positioned. How do I build that? You know, look at your parts, go through the list and say, oh, yeah, okay, I have that. Or, you know, I like the way he's holding the gun. How do I do that? You know, and they just kind of mimic it. Look at, you know, look at pictures, look at Old West pictures, and just get an idea for, you know, what makes your models look cool. I mean, they're your models. You want them to look really cool. And if you bought just the starter box, you get 15 models. So enough to build 2 gangs with an extra. I mean, literally, it's like 7 models. In the Outlaws, if you take the Fugitive, also, you only need 6 models. You know, 3 thugs, a fugitive, a gunslinger, and your boss, and you're at 21 points with 6 models. The lawmen, you know, 7 models will get you to 21. Probably the easiest way. So, and then you can, you know, build an extra one as a variation. The last thing to do, which I didn't show you, but we just stick it on one of the little round bases, and, you know, then you can go to town with basing and add, you know, your sand and stuff later, and we'll do that in another video, in which we'll, you know, we'll paint some of these models up. Okay. All right. So there you go. So, sorry, I'm talking a lot on this one, but it's just they're just fun to play with. They're just fun to build, and they're very easy to build. So don't let the fact that you look at the sprue and go, oh my gosh, all these different head options. No, just stop for a minute. You only have 5 pairs of legs and 5 torsos. So you can kind of start matching up, and you got 2 sprues that are exactly the same. Okay, well, I mean, 5 torsos and is, you know, 5 different combinations. Well, when you have 5 of each, now you've got lots of different combinations, and it becomes very, very easy to go on. If you have 3 sprues, 5 legs, you know, you can take one set of legs and add 3 different torsos to it. And you make 3 totally different models. You can add, you know, different sets of arms, totally different models. Even though they're all using the same pair of legs, they can look completely different. And that's the cool thing about it. So something to, you know, as you start to build your models, play with, have a good time with them, because it shouldn't be daunting to look at all these models and say, oh my gosh, how do I put all this together? It's not. They're fun. They're easy to put together. I recommend the plastic weld. If not, super glue. I use Gorilla super glue, not the gel, just the blue labeled super glue, and it works great. If you do use the super glue for these tiny parts, use a toothpick. And what I tend to do is I squeeze a little glue out of the end, use the toothpick to pick it up, and then put it where you want it. If you're using the plastic weld, you have a brush, and you can put that. It makes it a little easier. But trying to squeeze this into a tiny spot, you're going to wind up with too much glue most of the time, so just be careful. Anyway, I'm Sean. Thanks for watching. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And you know, give us a like, subscribe, and let us know the pictures. We are at the Game Room, Texas Gamer Geeks on Facebook. Link will be in the description below. Join us there. Show us the pictures. What are you building? How did you build your game? Because, you know, some of the best stuff is inspiration from other people. What did they do for their game? How did they build their game? Those are really kind of neat, and it'll help give you inspiration. So share what you've created, share how you painted your models up, and share what games are you putting together, and how are you playing the game. Anyway, again, I'm Sean. This is the Game Room. Thanks for watching Dead Man's Hand Redux Week. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless. Bye now.